Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Greetings, fellow Amazonians. You're welcome to the Gist with Kuku. Today on my platform, we'll be having Dr. Fontem, who is a part of us, a Southern Cameroonian from the northern zone that has been with us from day one of this revolution. Dr. Fontem Neba is a university don. I mean, a university lecturer, some of you already know that. A civil society activist, a trade union leader, one of the pioneers of the 2016 Anglophone uprising, then known as Anglophone uprising, you all know what I mean, which has now, of course, become the Southern Cameroon's revolution. He's as well the Secretary General of the consortium that you and I know. On the 17th of January, 2017, he was arrested alongside Agbo Felix Nkongo Bala. You all know the president of the consortium, then president of the consortium. And they were jailed in the Kondengi prison, where they stayed in there for 8 months under a very harsh condition. Dr. Fontem Neba and Dr. Agbo Felix Nkongo Bala were released on the 31st of August 2017, and of course were banned from every activism, every activities that was related to the then Anglophone crisis or the consortium and so on. Dr. Felix Neba, for people that know him, he's a very gentle, softly spoken, a good strategist, and of course, a very focused human being. But for a very long time, it's almost a year or a year per se that he came out from jail. He's been quiet until now that he has re-emerged back into the revolution. And of course, in an international level, not the local level back on ground zero, as we all know. You're welcome, Dr. Fontem. You're welcome to the show. And I'm really glad to have you here, and we want to thank you for respecting our invitation. As Southern Cameroonians, we've all seen that you've re-emerged into the revolution. For more than a year, you've been quiet, like I said in my introduction. We all wondered, we pondered on what could be your reasons. But like I said, we are all glad to have you back. But again, we have some worries, and I think there are some pertinent questions that we want you to answer so we can take it forward from there. After a year of you being quiet, you have suddenly come back to the revolution. And not only coming back, but you're holding a conference, you're doing a lot of things already, as we all heard from behind the scene. Many are wondering what is actually going on, allegations from here and there. Now, can you tell us why you've been quiet throughout this period of time and you've only come back now to operate again, bringing your personality forward and everything and taking over the revolution into another level?
Thank you very much, Kuku, for having me on your platform. I think it's a pleasure to be with you and to talk to my fellow Southern Cameroonians. I think we all have one ancestry. If I have stayed quiet for all this while, I think I said it before, it was probably because from experience, some people talk. And from that same experience, some people don't talk. The situation as it was did not permit me to be able to make a meaningful output, although I personally did my assessments, my analysis, and I watched the way things evolved. But at some point, you also realize that everybody cannot be talking at the same time. When we all talk at the same time, the best thing we can produce is noise. So in my own little corner, I was able to understand what was going on and why things were going why things were going that way. And at a given moment, I had to come on board. And I have come with a strong determination to make a constructive contribution to the lives of our people. And I pray that the Lord will give me the strength and the wisdom to be able to pursue that objective fervently.
Thank you. But you're coming back, there are allegations that you've been hired by the enemy to infiltrate the revolution, and you know what that means. Do you have anything to say on that?
Well, Kuku, I like the way you put it, hired to infiltrate the revolution. I think I've heard a lot of that stuff, and I'm not bothered by what people say. I am bothered by what my heart says and whether what I'm doing pleases God. I think I have a focus, I have determination, and I am not made of the stuff that is treacherous. That is the first thing. And one of the wonders I have experienced in this movement is why in this whole thing is why some people who don't understand things don't ask questions. It is dangerous to assume and to act based on wrong assumptions. I have come as a bona fide citizen of Southern Cameroons, and I intend to make my contribution as a free citizen.
Can I hold you for a minute?
Yes, please.
Some of the people are complaining about the volume. I just want to alert the technical team just in case there is something going on. But please, if the volume is okay, just indicate as you've been indicating. Volume, please. I'm just alerting the technical team to be aware that there is a problem with the volume. Once it's adjusted, please kindly indicate so we can take it up from there.
So I think we must not lose sight of the changes that time may bring. Those allegations are unfounded, they are vacuous, and they have been crafted to distort and to even disrupt the constructive contribution that I intend to bring to the lives of my people.
Thank you, sir. I have a question. I think it's a little personal, but I just want you to express that to Ambazonians. 8 months in the Kondengi prison, how has that affected you? You know, describe a typical day of yours, of your life as a political prisoner or detainee. Just tell us, let us know how it felt and how it still affects you right now and how you've been able to take it up from there.
Well, I think, Kuku, that's a very pertinent question because the manner in which I was taken to Kondengi is also very important. Barrister Nkongo Felix and I were transported to Yaoundé on the back of a truck. We were handcuffed back to back on a seat with the truck running at breakneck speed. And that, I think that was the worst journey I've ever made in my life. And, you know, we got to Yaoundé at about 3 a.m. and we were blindfolded and taken somewhere to spend the night. And the following day, we were taken for interrogation. And eventually we were separated, and I was taken to the central prison while Barrister Nkongo was taken to the principal prison. That was from the start. And living in a cell with 15 people, with a crowded prison that was meant for 800 people, you had 5,000 people inside. And I literally, you know, I had to come to terms with reality. And the first thing you do when you have that kind of experience is not to panic, to shout out or to cry or to break down. Although for a start, I just didn't understand how people could live under such conditions. You know, coming out of the comfort of my house, my bed, and so on. I suddenly found myself sharing space with box, you know, with bed box, and you know, with what it entails.
At some point, sorry to interrupt you. You said you people were separated. You were not in the same.
Yes, for the start.
But at some point, we learned that you people were reunited together. What actually led to that?
Well, I wouldn't know why I was taken to the other prison. I was just informed at short notice that it was I think the day before Good Friday, the Thursday before Good Friday, and two prison warders came up to my cell and told me that I was moving to the other prison, and I didn't understand why, and they asked me to pack my things immediately, and that Mancho BBC would be taking my place. I just didn't understand. I was already getting used to the misery in my corner, and I was getting used to my cellmates. I had to go and start life afresh again. You know, it depressed me a little although I knew I was going to meet my co-traveler, Barrister Felix. But, even in those kinds of difficult situations, separating you from the people you had spent about 3-4 months together was a bit difficult. And with all the crowd of other Southern Cameroonians who were in that prison, we gathered for a brief moment, we prayed together, and I encouraged them, but it was quite a difficult one. So I didn't understand why I was.
But it was alleged that you all were brought together to reunite because La Republic had an intention that was, of course, negative to the rest of Southern Cameroonians, trying to use the people. So they needed an understanding maybe from you, Mr. Agbobala and Mancho BBC. They needed you people to sit and agree before. That was what was out there, and I don't know if you have anything to say about that.
Well, I don't think I experienced any such thing when I went to the other prison. When I went to the principal prison, Barrister Nkongo did not tell me anything of that sort, and I did not experience any unusual visits, but I just realized that the environment in which I was more austere. The new environment was more austere. It was more guarded, and it had its ways. It was the real political prison. It was a military prison. So again, I learned to adapt, and I think one of the things that made me to survive in prison was prayer. I think at times when some things happen, some bad luck also brings, the British say every cloud has a silver lining. I was able to read my Bible from cover to cover, and I read my Bible almost twice during that time in prison. And it was also a time of spiritual upliftment, because I believed that there was more that was going to come after prison. And I needed to stay strong. I needed to be fortified. And I'm glad the Lord saw me through.
Thank you. Did you foresee the escalation of this conflict? Because at the time you people were taken to jail, it was still known as the Anglophone crisis, which of course it started just from the lawyers and teachers strike and all that. While you were at Kondengi, did you foresee that there was going to be an escalation of the crisis that has now led to the Southern Cameroon's revolution and a plight for freedom?
I think if I can remember, when my interrogation at the SED was over, and they announced that they were going to take us to court so that our charges be read to us, because, after our interrogation, one of the officers approached me and told me that, in fact, the file is empty, but they just have to follow instructions, because honestly, they don't see the wrong we have done, and but the state just wants them to do what they want them to do, and that's just what they're going to do. And I told we had a visit of some top government officials there who came to see us, because I think Barrister Nkongo and I were more like on exhibition. Everybody wanted to see those consortium leaders, and they were expecting some very huge figures, big men, but almost everybody was disappointed when they saw two tiny young men sitting and almost sunk, in the seats. What I told the officials who came was that their action was mistaken, and that it was still time to do something about the crisis, and that what we expected was an official response and an undertaking that government had acknowledged all the issues, and that they were going to do what they needed to do and set up a commission that will follow up to ensure that all the things and all the grievances the people had tabled were going to be addressed. But I also noticed that after the last negotiation we had, we were prevented from signing the resolutions. And I understood that probably they wanted to doctor the resolutions after that, because eventually when the documents were read, when the resolutions were read on radio, I found significant chunks or significant portions had been removed. I found that significant portions had been removed. And so it confirmed the reason why we were prevented from signing. So I knew that the approach the government had used was going to backfire. And I told them that this situation will go out of hand if Barrister Nkongo Felix and I are taken off the stage. But if they have made the choice, let it not be that we did not warn them. And it eventually turned out as we had said.
Thank you. If I'm going to ask you, what is your distinction between West Cameroon and Southern Cameroons?
I don't think that the distinction between West Cameroon and Southern Cameroon is a tricky one, because West Cameroon was the federal state under the gentleman's agreement between Southern Cameroons and La République du Cameroun. And so when you talk of West Cameroon, I think you're basically referring to the two-state federation. And when you talk about Southern Cameroons, you're referring to the country as it was at the time of independence, at the time it got its independence. So Southern Cameroons is nationalist and West Cameroon is federalist. I guess that's a very simple way of putting it.
Okay, just a follow-up to that question. Southern Cameroonians, they wonder, what are you? And I think I am one of them that has been wondering, what are you? Of course, what are you? And I think we really want you to tell us who you are as far as this revolution is concerned. Are you a federalist or a nationalist?
Well, Kuku, I have had extensive discussions and debates with most of my peers and my friends and the community on the significance of being a federalist or a nationalist at this critical juncture or at this critical moment in the lives of our people. The danger in these ideological postures is that you spend most of your time arguing and debating, and you never really move the people's situation away from what it presently is. So I think I am a Southern Cameroonian who wants to see our people's destiny shaped in a manner as to prevent them from going back to the kinds of sufferings that we have experienced. So as a Southern Cameroonian, we are all historically bound by our ancestry. And I believe that whatever thing I become, whatever ideological leaning I eventually subscribe to, will be determined by how well we are able to push forth the case of our people and help them to be able to choose, make a choice so that a sustainable solution can be given to to this problem that has beleaguered us for so many years.
Okay. Ambazonians, you've all heard Dr. Fontem never says he's a Southern Cameroonian and his goal is to push forward whatever that is going to see Southern Cameroonians free from suffering and all that. So many audios have come out, to challenge the upcoming conference that you're organizing, saying that it's been organized or sponsored by La République. They are asking who is the sponsor of the conference, where did you get your finances from, and that you're out to foster federalist agenda and all that. What do you have to say about that?
I think, Kuku, one point we've not made is that everybody whose father was a citizen of Southern Cameroon by 1961 is a Southern Cameroonian. Whether you claim to be a federalist or a nationalist today, you are a Southern Cameroonian. So it is important that if you call it, so when you call it Southern Cameroonian, it is all embracing. It brings back everybody into the same fold. Because at the end of the day, whatever situation we eventually find ourselves, we will not exclude anybody. So the funding of this conference is intended, the funding of this conference comes from the people of Southern Cameroons. In my last outing, the last time I spoke to Southern Cameroonians, I invited them to donate to make this conference a reality. We do not have any means of our own. Those who are working with me, all the ladies and the gentlemen who have subscribed and who have bought this ideal, have realized that we don't have any means other than what our people are putting in to ensure that this conference holds. So the issue of funding will be determined by Southern Cameroonians. It is the People's Conference, as I had said earlier, and I continue to maintain. It is our conference.
Do you think you've had the maximum support already? Because if the support is not there, the funding won't be there if you're actually depending on Southern Cameroonians, as you're saying. Have you had that maximum support already?
Yeah, we have quite a significant amount of support, and I think we have the audios that you've been hearing these days. Well, I've not heard many because somehow my phone has refused to let me hear them. But at times, people call me to say, this is what they've heard, this person has made an audio, this is what he has said, and so on. I have deliberately refused to allow anything that would distract me to stand in between me and what I want to do for my people. As I said from the outset, I'm constructive, I am positive, and I believe that if there is anything I can do to help our people, I will do it. I think standing in the middle and bringing everybody together to be able to talk to each other and accept that in spite of our diversity, in spite of our differences, we have a common destiny. If we begin to see things in that light, I believe that we will make significant progress. But until then, we will continue to experience all the difficulties that we find before us. Now, we have quite a number of people who have sent in indicated their support. Many have already redeemed their pledges. Many are picking up items that have to do with the conference, and I think it's a wonderful thing. We realize that on the day people give their lives to Christ, it is not everybody who does. Others see from the lifestyle of the others and eventually give their lives. Those who have doubts about the conference are founded in their doubts. I cannot tell them that their doubts are not founded until they realize later that this was, after all, a good thing. I have nothing to prick the sides of my intent except the compassion that I have for the suffering our people are experiencing right now. We need to find a solution, and the solution to our people's problems can be attained by sitting around the same table and talking to each other and agreeing on how we need to move forward. And that is just what I intend to do.
Yeah. So when you started the revolution with Agbobala, you're one of the pioneers that started from the Anglophone crisis and all that. Do you agree that it's no longer just an ordinary Anglophone crisis, but it has escalated into a revolution? That it does not revolve now around the language barrier issues that people were talking before, revolving around Anglophones and all that. What I mean in essence is it's no longer any Anglophone crisis, but now a full-blown revolution where the people are looking forward to their freedom.
I think you have restated the obvious. You have restated the obvious. This problem could have been better handled if the government had acknowledged the problem and taken and acted expediently to resolve the issues that were raised and to set up structures that would accompany the kind of reform that the people were expecting. But it was never the case, and rather repressive measures were employed. And I think in extreme situations, extreme principles are applied, and that is what a simple socio-political and economic problem became a nationalist uprising, and it has now become the kind of bloodshed that we are seeing. We are actually in a situation of civil war, and in fact, it is genocidal. It is genocidal.
Okay. With all the genocides going on in Southern Cameroon, everything that has happened so far, you re-emerging into the revolution at this point. What is your passion for this revolution, sir?
I think my passion is the suffering. The passion that I have, and which is what drives me, is the suffering of my people. I have had pains. I have not been able to come to terms with what is happening. And if you talk to those who know me, it has not been an easy time trying to imagine why things went the way they did. And although we can say with some degree of certainty that it is the result of a brutal, a repressive, system which has existed since the 50s, because what they are doing to us is what has been done in Cameroon twice or thrice before. It was done to the Bamile case, it was done to the Northerners, it was done to the Bassas. So it is a system that thrives on brutality, it thrives on violence, it thrives on destruction. And it is amazing how our people have been able to resist so far. But I think it is time we sit down together and ask ourselves, how did we get here? How can we move forward? And until we do that, we will not be able to really say with certainty how we want to have this problem resolved, because the world is watching. The world is watching. I have talked to a number of people, and everybody is watching, and we enjoy. There are people who have a lot of compassion for us, but we need to sit down and organize ourselves. And because we are too divided, we have too many opinions running against each other. But from the time we start realizing that many and as diverse as we are one people, we will be able to find a solution. And that is the intention of, I think that is the goal of the conference that we have convened for the 29th and the 30th of March.
But sir, even before the conference, you've re-emerged into the revolution, and you're doing a lot already, but you are not still very outspoken as much as Ambazonians are expecting or thinking you were going to be speaking, looking into the fact that you are no more on ground zero, where fear and other things revolves around you and all that, where the enemy, you are at in the lion's den. You are now in the diaspora, where I think to a certain extent you're free, yet you're not very outspoken as much as the people had expected. What do you have to say about that?
I think, Kuku, it's a question that comes up every now and then. But we all have our different personalities. We have our different approaches, and I think my approach is based on my experience, and I am more of the consultation type, and I have because when I came around, I realized that there were significant divisions. I needed to, first of all, talk to the stakeholders, bridge the gaps, convince the people, and this goes with, a lot of backdoor talking, backdoor work. You don't have to come out and shout. To me, it saps a lot of energy. It saps a lot of energy. But I think that in the days ahead, I should be able to come out a little more often, especially because most of the work that I have been doing in the background is beginning to yield fruit. One of the problems.
So, are you saying we should be hopeful for good results with some of the things you've been doing?
The results cannot come without the contributions and the participation of our people. I am just a reed in the tide, and if we don't work together in synergy, if we don't work together in as a team, as a community, as a people, we will not be able to achieve we will not be able to meet the expectations that we have set for ourselves. So my expectation generally now is that our people will stand up as one person, and accept that we have come to a critical juncture in our lives as a people, and that we need to sit down and talk to each other. And our conference is meant to give us that opportunity.
So, sir, in essence, you're telling us that for the time being that you've not been much outspoken, you've been doing a lot of work behind the scene to see that our situation is addressed.
I think it is everybody's role. It is everybody's role, particularly in our intellectual and elite class, that we in each person's corner, you reflect on what is going on, because the situation is a painful one, and you talk to the people you can talk to, and ask for the kind of ideas that are needed to chart a peaceful way out of the present crisis, so that never again our people will have to go through the kind of pain and suffering that we have experienced in these past years.
Okay. So now, looking into the revolution, we've had our ups and downs, and from where it all started and to where it is right now, to how far we've come, is there anything you would have loved to change, or is there anything you regret?
I think, Kuku, thank you very much for that question. What I observe in this particular struggle, what our people call the struggle, but which is actually the quest for freedom and self-determination, and because whether you're federalist or you're nationalist, it's a quest for self-determination. It's just the degree of self-determination that differentiates one from the other. I see a negative trend that has emerged, and it is this something they call surrogacy. People who rent the social media and they use it to spew out evil messages, to spew out very antagonistic literature. They spend a lot of time, brewing hate and antagonizing the leaders, the frontline leaders in the Southern Cameroon's quest for self-determination, and I find it very disappointing. Some style themselves activists, and they've given themselves all kinds of names, and they use their names and to manipulate their followers, manipulate public opinion, and it has destroyed the psyche of a very unsuspecting people. My prayer is that many people who are into this business of exploiting and abusing Southern Cameroonians will realize the fruitlessness of the ventures that they have begun at the expense of our people. With my coming on board, I think we need to put an end. We need to put an end to this negative trend that has kept us divided. This negative trend that has sown internal divisions and made many of the things that the people are asking for not to materialize. So they have even derailed the approaches that we needed to employ to be able to get the proper attention this whole problem deserves. So if I had anything, if I had a wish, and I have been praying that we will put an end to these negative practices, that our people will realize that those doing all these things will realize that our people are dying, our people are in refugee camps, people's property has been destroyed. There's a lot of carnage that is going on, and you cannot afford to keep our people divided for your personal interest because you want to honor or glorify the image of one man. The very things that have put Southern Cameroonians on this course that is raging is the very thing that some people are trying to perpetrate, building personality cults, making it difficult for us to be able to discuss the problem of the people and to find palpable solutions. I think at some point we have to stop. I think we have to stop. it is really sad.
Okay, I want us to talk a little, you particularly, sir, to talk a little about the ASCP conference that you're coming up with. I mean, can you tell Amazonians what it's really all about, the objectives, and maybe our expectations?
Well, the ASCPC, the All Southern Cameroon People's Conference, is a general conference. It invites assembles all the stakeholders who are Southern Cameroonians and their leaders and the political groups, humanitarian organizations and NGOs, those working on ground zero in the refugee camps with internally displaced persons and so on. And the aim of this conference is to assess the problems that Southern Cameroon has experienced in ever since we got independence by joining the Republic of Cameroon. And we want to assess the humanitarian situation on the ground. We want to find out why things got to this level, and then collectively we need to determine how we want the problems solved. And then I think the last thing that we hope to achieve at this conference is to get all the frontline political groups to take a pledge before their people that they will not they will listen to their people and do things the right way. They will do things the right way so that our people will not continue to suffer the way they are going to suffer, that they have been suffering. And I think I must say that so far the progress has been good. I have not particularly invited any specific group. What I have done has been an open appeal to all the movements and the organizations for people to identify themselves as described by my words and to come forth and be part of this initiative. So we will be meeting for 2 days and people have already indicated from different countries. We have people coming from Canada, we have people coming from Europe, South Africa, and we have participants from Cameroon and Cameroon, Nigeria, and from Latin America. I feel humbled by the warm reception that communities here in the United States have given me. I have been invited to talk to our brothers and sisters, our compatriots in some of the states, and I am happy that many have keyed into this initiative and are giving the support that it deserves. I think that anybody who misses this opportunity should not say that he did not know about it. He should rather tell himself that at that particular time he did not want to come. So, but I pledge that we will make it as constructive as possible, and we will make it as uniting as possible, and that at the end our people will have cause to praise God.
I hope the conference is going to bear good fruits. But so if I must ask you, at what point in time in this revolution did you sit, analyze, strategize, and realize that it was important to have a conference of this sort?
Well, I think from there are a number of people who have mooted the idea of bringing people together before, and I was just one of those people. But I think the idea of a conference came about when I visited the United States and realized that there were deep divisions between the different ideological leanings, and most of the people did not realize that whichever position they stood for was the target. Their goal was still to help Southern Cameroons and to make Southern Cameroons a better place. So I must confess that getting to many people was not easy, and it took quite a while for me to talk to the first person, because there were a lot of suspicions and many people and apprehensions. And I began to do consultations, talking to organizations. I needed to also thank some of the international organizations that had stood for me while I was in prison. And when some of these organizations realized that I was around, they invited me for speaking events, and one thing led to the other. I eventually realized that the perception in the international in international circles is that we are a deeply divided people. I think at some point I thought I was the only one seeing it, and many people felt that we were too divided, and that with these divisions we were never going to make a significant. We were never going to make a significant change to our fortunes, and so it thus became necessary for the All Southern Cameroons People's Conference to be evolved. And when I did the concept, I shared it with a number of people, and initially it had a lot of resistance. It had a lot of resistance, but I did not give up. Let me tell you, Kuku, that if there's one thing that I live for, is to make sure that our people are happy, and that our people live a peaceful life. I have come and I stand in the middle today, and I beckon on both sides, and I am telling everybody on the different sides of the divide, ideological divide, that it is time to come closer. It is time to come close to each other and talk and discuss, because we can only find a way forward if we all agree that we are children of the same ancestor, and that our destiny is a common destiny. And I'm glad that many people have realized that, and we are moving forward. And those who are still to come in will be welcome when they come.
Just to make it clear, I think from the little I've grabbed from you, in essence, you're saying the conference is to bring together all our stakeholders, the leaders of the nationalist group, for us to all look into where we've gone wrong, the mistakes we've made, and what we can do right. Yes. Unity of purpose, and see how we can re-strategize to carry on the revolution. Is that what you're saying in essence?
Exactly. Okay. So federalists and nationalists are coming together to talk about their shortcomings and their goals, and how they can achieve a peaceful end to their suffering.
Okay, so federalists are also going to be a part of the conference.
All Southern Cameroonians. It is all Southern Cameroonians.
Okay, you said so.
All Southern Cameroonians, yes. Yeah. And because we must realize that whatever the outcome of this struggle or this quest, we are going to have to live together. So we will still be brothers and sisters. We must also realize that in some homes, you have people who are nationalists, you have people who are federalists. In most homes, most families in Southern Cameroon have been affected. They have been scarred by this ongoing destruction, killing. I don't think there's any family that has not been bereaved by all this development, or lost property, or had a victim. So we must pay attention to that and give it due consideration.
Okay. Is it going to be an open door conference, like you said, for every Southern Cameroonians or stakeholders?
Well, there is a registration process to which people must abide. We want to make sure that it is not in a stadium. The conference is not in a stadium. It is a hall with a limited seat capacity, and with a limited seating capacity, and people need to go online and register. If you cannot register online, get someone who can do it to do it for you. And we expect that there's going to be security measures to make sure that people don't use that opportunity to disrupt, or to there are security measures that have been put in place with.
Okay, so you're saying in essence there's been security measures put in place, so people should not be scared. Yes. It's an opportunity for everyone, irrespective of your affiliation,
Yes.
Irrespective of your views, irrespective of your opinion, come in there and let's look for a way forward that will be better off for the revolution.
Yes, yes. And I want to caution my brothers and sisters that if you see nobody can stand in the way to, or in the way to what God wants to do. Anything that God wants to do, no man can stop it. So if the path or the course that our people have embarked on is a genuine one, nobody is going to stop it. And nobody should think that at any time anybody can be hired, employed, or paid to come and do anything evil. All the suppositions that have been raised concerning the conference are unfounded. People should not fear. People should come and have their meeting and discuss and agree, and our effort will not be in vain.
Just to remind Ambazonians, please, for a couple of you that have some questions to ask, get your questions ready. Once more, like I told you before, is the gist with Kuku. On the show, we have Dr. Fontem Neba, for some of you that are still joining, our Secretary General for the Consortium. You all know him. He's been there from day one. He's one of the pioneers of the revolution. It started as the Anglophone crisis that has now resulted to a full-blown revolution and all that. So he's been answering a couple of questions from Kuku, but like I always say, it's the gist with Kuku, so it does not end up with me. I always give Ambazonians the opportunity to ask one or two questions, and then we can wrap it up from there with maybe one or two comments from him and myself. So the floor is open for your questions. Why maybe he can just go ahead to analyze more if he has got about the conference. And
yeah, Kuku, but before that, a point of correction. I am the former Secretary General.
Okay, former Secretary. Yes, oh, sorry, I had no idea. Former Secretary General of the consortium.
Yeah, the consortium now is run by an entirely different set of people who were also consortium members at that time. Yes, they've moved forward with the consortium, and now are more or less a community organizer. My role now is to bring everybody on board to coordinate with our community so that we can find constructive solutions to.
Okay. Since when did you become formal, sir? I don't think that has been formally put out. I can't remember. Maybe I'm making a mistake.
Well, while I was
in prison, when did you become formal Secretary General?
While I was in prison, a lot of things happened within the consortium.
I remember.
Yeah, so Comrade Tassang and the others made significant adjustments because the consortium needed to move forward.
Oh, yeah, it's true. I remember vividly. Yes. So okay, I'm just trying to check on Ambazonians. You can analyze more on the conference if you wish, or if you so desire. Let me see if there are a couple of questions that are coming up from concerned Ambazonians.
Yes, I think I need to say one thing about the conference. The conference is not an empty talk shop. It is not an empty talk shop. It is structured in a manner that is very constructive, that it will be very productive. And the discussions are tailored around sub-themes that will be presented by key discussants. And people will be required to discuss those sub-themes after the presentations have been made. And we will now build a consensus around each sub-theme so that the theme of the conference can now become a reality. So it is not a meeting where people are going to come and I will hand down what I prepared for them. No, we have called our people, with those who have intimate knowledge of what has happened and what is happening, to say what they know, and then together we will build a consensus around that. So that is the plan that we have for.
I have some questions here for you, sir. I think it would be good that we take them so we can save time and not take all of your time. I know you're a very busy person right now. It's not been easy to get you, though I love the fact that you communicate a lot. Thank you. Even when we can't talk, you always communicate when I try to communicate. Someone is asking Dr. Fontem, where were you 1 year ago after your release? That is first part of the question. And the person is also asking, are you working with the To Me initiative?
Well, I think that question is a very interesting question. I don't know how we overlooked it in the course of our discussion. We are not working with the TUMI initiative. The TUMI initiative is the Anglophone General Conference.
Okay.
And I think I know that. Distinction between Anglophone and Southern Cameroons. So there are two distinct operations.
Yeah. So, I remember vividly.
Very unrelated. So it's important for people to make that distinction and understand.
Okay.
But although I know that most of the people who are propagating the information that the ASCPC is an arm of the AGC are doing so for vile reasons.
Okay. Somebody is asking, apart from ending the suffering of the people, what is the end purpose of the conference concerning the quest of statehood?
I think that position is not will not be informed by my personal opinion, and that is why I have made sure that we have key people on board to be able to discuss and come to a conclusion. I cannot impose my will on the people, but I can create the crucible within which the right choices, the right decisions can be made to the benefit of all.
Okay, somebody is asking that it is alleged that there is a $50 registration fee. Is that true? Just to be aware or to be sure.
Yeah, but if you go online, you'll see everything about the conference and the money, because I have made it clear that for transparency's sake, people need to make sure that their registration, their conference registration goes into the bank account, because we don't want people handling money, and we want to be able to account for every dime that comes in. So if you go to the registration portal, there is a link that enables you to be able to pay into the account, the conference account. And like every other conference, there is a registration fee. At least it enables us to be able to do some of the work that is needed.
Is it to manage the expenses of the conference and so on?
Yes, and partly that. And you should remember that the conference is also paying tickets for some people who are key persons who are supposed to be part of the conference, but who cannot be able to afford their tickets. And we are grateful that some communities were able to also pick some of those bills. And I think it's important that we use the portal so that at least the money that comes in can be determined.
So the money is not for any personal purpose, but for the conference, and maybe if there is a balance, what happens?
Yes, I think we've said that before. We've said it many times before, that we intend to present a transparent report on the amounts received and spent, and we will agree there at the conference on how
what to do with the balance.
Yes, because we think that the conference is a crucial structure that will help our people to be able to collectively express themselves, talk with their leaders, and we don't just want to discard it immediately after it ends. So the leaders and the people will decide what to do with what is left of the conference, and only after that can we know what's next to do.
Okay. Yeah. Someone is asking here that Dr. Fontem, please, has La République du Cameroun ever tried negotiating or pushing forward the agenda of federation through you or anyone that you know?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. People are asking, I'm sorry, I don't want to go into Tapang Ivo's money and all that. Guys, it's not necessary at this point. We are focusing on what to foster the revolution and to understand Dr. Fontem more and to understand his position in the revolution, and not trivial matters that are past that will not help the revolution in any way. So pardon me if I do not go into that. Somebody is asking, how is this different from the CPD and Peace Initiative or whatsoever? Yeah, I think. How is this conference that you're organizing right now different from the CPD and Peace Initiative?
I just heard about the CPD and Peace Initiative a few days ago, so I don't know what it is all about.
Okay. Okay, somebody is just making a comment that, of course, it's good, but even if we have key people in the revolution, Ambazonians generally, like Southern Cameroonians, are the ones to decide their fate, not individuals, which of course is okay.
That's what I said.
Okay, somebody is saying, Kufe Robert says, 100% true. I paid and I got my receipt. I will be there.
And those who have difficulties going through with pushing through their registration, there's an email and there's a phone number they can call if they have any problems. They will be given the help that is needed. So please,
some people are still asking. I think they came into the discussion, the gist with Kuku. They came in late. Someone is asking the same question I've asked you already. I think about 4 people have written on that. That's just why I want to talk about it. If you are a federalist or an independentist, he has answered that, but maybe you might still grant them the pleasure of just briefly highlighting on that a little so they can understand or get that from you directly.
Well, I think part of the problem of, I think we need to set new standards for ourselves that when we say that we are going to do something at 1 o'clock, we try as much as possible to do it at 1 o'clock. A program was supposed to start and we were supposed to be discussing, going forward and backward on these issues, doesn't really speak well of us. But let me do it for the benefit of those who still hope to change. We must realize that whether you are a nationalist or you are federalist, the essence is for you to make a change in the lives of the people of Southern Cameroon. So if your role is not constructive, then whether you're federalist or nationalist doesn't matter. So I have elected to play a role that is constructive, that will bring our people together and enable them to be able to forge ahead in the best manner that they choose. And so whatever nomenclature I adopt today will not serve any purpose if it will not change the future of our people.
Okay, someone is asking, what is now your relationship with Dr. Bala? Sorry, not Dr. Bala, Agbo Bala, but I think he made a mistake in his
Barrister
Agbo Bala, yeah.
Yes, Barrister Agbo Bala and I were co-travelers, and we did a lot of work at the consortium, and ever since we came out of prison, he reconverted himself into his human rights and law practice, and has been doing very well in his outfit. And I think he's been doing fantastically.
Okay, I don't know, guys, I don't want to ignore you. I don't know what's up with this tapang and money, how much you receive. Dr. Fontem, do you want to respond to that?
I have made it abundantly clear that I do not discuss issues of money on television. Yeah, on
Amazonians, have you heard Southern Cameroonians said he's made it clearly that he does not discuss monetary issues on the national TV or wherever. I respect people's opinion and I'm not going to force him on that. And someone says, Dr. Nick Santos says, you were paid by peace inspectors in Cameroon. Do you have any response to that?
Paid by?
You were paid by peace inspectors. I don't even know what's that in Cameroon.
Peace inspectors. I wouldn't know what that is.
I don't know either.
Nobody has ever paid me. Nobody has ever paid me. And I do not need to narrate my ordeals on TV. I think what I have gone through, some of the pains and frustrations I went through after prison, have only strengthened me to be able to work with my people to find a solution to their problem.
Okay, people are just giving their comments about the revolution, the conference. Some are saying they have registered. Some are saying, yeah, just one and the same thing.
Yeah, people should register. People should register for the conference.
I'm just trying to see if there are any new questions, and then I can put it forward to you.
Okay.
Someone says, with everything our people have gone through, do you still think federation should be an option on the table?
Well, to say you don't want federation on the table is to say we should block out those who think federation. So let us invite everybody to the hall and through the force of argument, convince each other why one option is no longer tenable.
Okay. So once is the gist with Kuku once more, and like I said, we have Dr. Fontem on the show. He's answered, he has explained a lot of things, he has analyzed a lot of things, he has explained many situations that Ambazonians have been doubting, questions have been coming, I've asked my own questions, and yeah, I don't think we'll continue to take more time since we have another shows coming after us. Dr. Fontem, I'll just maybe 2 minutes comment from you. What do you have to tell the people of Southern Cameroon in general? Maybe 1 or 2 advice before we go off the platform.
Yes, I want to say that our people historically were a democratic people, and that diversity in opinion was one thing that characterized the political system that Southern Cameroons enjoyed before independence and in the few years after they got their independence by joining the Republic of Cameroon, that is, I think, up to 1972. So we must show a lot of tolerance to diversity of opinion, but we must also be very, very constructive in that opinion. For the sake of diversity, we must not become intolerant. We must not become obnoxious. We must not try to suffocate others with the manner in which we do things. Let us be a considerate people. Let us be a compassionate people. Let us realize that our destiny is intricately linked to the way we conduct ourselves, the way we do things, and the way we relate with each other. Our leadership our collective leadership has made a strong resolve that this time around they are ready to work with the people to bring our quest for self-determination to a discussion and an ultimate resolution. Let us give them the support that is needed, and let us exercise some patience as we work towards that. I believe that the conference that is about to hold is a child of necessity. Let us have it and not shy away from it. Let us see what the world has in store for us, because our resolutions are going to count. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Doctor. Thank you for respecting our invitation. Thank you for the time that you've given into answering some of those questions and elaborating on most of the concerns that Ambazonians have been asking. We really want to say we appreciate your coming here, and we hope that whatever thing you're putting in place bears good fruit to us all, and we all reap from it. Once more, thank you, and I want to say thank you, fellow Ambazonians, Southern Cameroonians, and everyone that has made it possible to be a part of this talk show. Once more, is the gist with Kuku. Like I said, it's every Saturday, 6 p.m. Amber time. And before we go, I really, really want to apologize about my last week's show. People were writing to me, my show with the chairman for the Restoration Council, Mr. Elvis Cometa. After the show, many could not rewatch it. It got deleted from the ABC channel. I don't know what happened, but we found out that Facebook and other social media platforms have been having issues recently. So I saw some allegations that we took off the video. What are we hiding? that was really, it sounded so funny, because if we had anything to hide, we would not have a live interview. So to me, it made no sense. People should be really, really researchful before, or ask questions before they accuse. And I think this is one of the things that we are really suffering in this revolution. People assume and jump into conclusions, something I knew nothing about. I've even researching, I've done everything possible to see how to retrieve videos, and I just couldn't do anything about it. And not only me, the team have done their best to no avail. So for all of you that thought that we actually took out the video, we did nothing of that sort. Facebook has got its issues, and these are one of the reasons that we've been insisting that we need to have a TV of our own and not depend on social media platforms, because they can fail us at any given time. That was just to clear the air. Thank you, fellow Sounding Cameroonians. Thank you, well-wishers, friends, and everyone that has made it possible to be a part of this show. It was a great one, and I look forward to seeing you all next week, same time, same place, and everything. May God bless you all, and bless you too, Dr. Fontem, for being here. Goodbye to everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.